A major signal the CCP has begun managing expectations. What does it mean? This is Jersey News Commentary Channel. Recently, the Chinese Communist Party's Qiushi journal published a commentator's article calling for strengthening expectation management. This is undoubtedly a major signal. It means reality has deteriorated so badly that the CCP is beginning to abandon changing reality and instead is trying to control how people feel about reality. What is expectation? Expectation is judgment, confidence, and estimation of the future. And all of this comes from reality: income, employment, assets, policy stability. These are the roots. Expectation is merely the shadow. Material determines consciousness. Isn't this the theory the CCP has always emphasized? So why has it now reversed course and started emphasizing expectation? Is the CCP making a 180-degree turn, now claiming that consciousness determines material? Instead of repairing investment, restoring income, stabilizing employment, or supporting assets, the CCP wants to stabilize expectations. What does that mean? When the CCP begins to treat the result as a policy target, it can only mean one thing: it is already helpless about the economy. So it turns to another path, not managing the economy anymore, but trying to control public opinion, relying on lies and narratives to get by. For example, they claim that China's economic weakness is due to external factors, worsening global conditions, rising geopolitical risks, increasing protectionism. This line has not changed for decades. In short, everything is caused by external forces by the US, Japan, and Europe. People have heard this so many times their ears have grown calluses. If all problems come from outside, then why aren't other countries collapsing? Why is it you? In reality, the real problems have always been internal. Real estate is collapsing, debt is on the verge of explosion, confidence among private businesses has crumbled, unemployment is overwhelming, and all three growth drivers have stalled. On the surface, the problem is economic, but at its root, it is political. It lies in Xi Jinping's regressive policies, in his one-man rule, in a system where the party controls everything. Look at Vietnam today. Its economy is booming, foreign investment is pouring in, multinational giants like Nvidia and Apple are moving there just as they once flocked into China more than 30 years ago. Vietnam is visibly de-Chinaizing, integrating into Europe and the United States, aligning its legal system, institutions, markets, and education with Western standards. Some predict that Vietnam will eventually join the Western camp like Japan, South Korea, and Singapore. Vietnam stands as a sharp slap in the face to the CCP. Party domination of everything, one-man dictatorship, systemic decay, unchecked power. These are the roots of economic collapse, the roots of collapsing expectations. Consider their carefully crafted language: transition pains, new growth drivers, strong supply, and weak demand. These sound like academic terms, but they are evasions, empty words that avoid the core issue. They explain nothing. They are word games, a fake leaf to deceive the public. What does strong supply and weak demand mean? It means goods cannot be sold, there is overcapacity. Why can't they be sold? Yes, there are external factors. You have long aligned yourself with regimes like Russia and Iran, forming part of an authoritarian axis, dumping products at low prices. Of course others will push back. But the fundamental issue is weak consumption. And why is consumption weak? Because people have no money. Because they dare not spend. Because the future is completely uncertain. Take real estate. They say it is adjusting. But reality is falling prices, frozen transactions, collapsing local government finances, and shrinking household wealth. Real estate is not just an industry, it is the anchor of wealth. Once the anchor loosens, consumption collapses, investment stops, confidence vanishes. Is this merely an adjustment? This is destruction, a disaster. And who caused it? Wasn't it the CCP itself, together with local governments and banks, running wild for over 30 years? Local governments sold land aggressively, banks flooded the system with credit, using real estate to extract wealth from the people, turning hundreds of millions, across generations, into debtors. They say, consumer confidence is insufficient, private investment lacks vitality. But we must ask, why don't people dare to spend? Why don't businesses dare to invest? Because of unemployment. Because income is unstable. Because policies are unpredictable. Because risks are uncontrollable. Interest rate cuts, liquidity injections, property support, investment expansion, consumption stimulus. The CCP has tried everything. Yet all policies have failed. Why? Because rules are unstable, property rights are insecure, and policies can reverse at any time. What does this show? It shows the problem is not policy, it is the system. The system is broken. The ruling party is rotten. They also speak of a gap between macro data and micro experience, but this is not a gap. If GDP were truly growing, if employment were truly stable, why is life getting harder for ordinary people? Because statistics are fabricated, while real life resists. This is not a perception issue, it is data distortion. Finally, they say they must strengthen propaganda and improve expectation management. What does that mean? It means controlling information, enforcing unified messaging, silencing and brainwashing manufacturing optimism. So-called singing the main theme of economic growth is nothing but self-deception. The CCP can control data. It can control the media, but it can never control human perception. You know whether you have a job. You know whether you have money. You know whether your assets have shrunk. When reality and propaganda completely diverge, expectation management becomes absurd. Not only that, the entire country enters a state of absurdity. China today resembles Orwell's Animal Farm. In history, every regime on the road to collapse goes through the same stages. First, problems emerge. Then, they are denied. Finally, the regime tries to control how people perceive those problems. When a regime no longer solves problems, but instead tries to manipulate and suppress people's perceptions, it is not far from collapse.